The recording now. Okay. Good evening and welcome to Ujima Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. Tonight is co-direct. We have 3 updates for you. It actually will probably be a pretty short conversation. So first is the Ashe Ashe 2021 Cultural Assembly granting voting process is live. Today is the deadline. So if you are a Ujima voting member, and there are a couple of things. One, if you completed your voter affirmation form and you expressed interest in voting in the Cultural Assembly and you have not yet done so, please do so. So one of the things we wanted to do with that affirmation form was just get at a more refined understanding, speaking of power, of what types of decisions people want to make and what decisions people don't want to make. So we're working on processes that let people weigh in when they want to weigh in, and that don't pressure people when it comes to decisions that they'd rather not weigh in on. So we do ask, if you filled out that voter affirmation form, we appreciate it. That was a first step. And if you committed to participating in the Cultural Assembly vote, that you complete your participation. If you are a Ujima voting member and you have not completed the voter affirmation form, we do please encourage you to do so. So I think it's helpful for all of us if you complete that form. As I said, it's your way of letting us know, giving us a nuanced understanding of how you want to participate, and it lets us know how we can best communicate with you. So if you let us know you don't want to participate in a particular vote, for example, then you just won't hear from us for that particular vote. If you let us know that you do want to participate, then we'll work to make sure you have all of the information that you need. And I'll pause for any questions or reflections about the process, about that process. I got a thumbs up. All right. Next update. I previewed this a little bit earlier. We are getting ready for our next investment vote. We are finalizing a credit memo that will go out to Ujima voting members about Dorchester Food Co-op. So Dorchester Food Co-op is a future grocery co-op that will be soon located in, oh man, I'm forgetting the area now. They're partnering with Viet.
Fields Corner, Bowdoin, Geneva.
Bowdoin, Geneva. Thank you so much, Siona. So it will be in the Bowdoin, Geneva area. I think, as I said, we accepted them to the Business Alliance. We re-accepted them to the Business Alliance this year. We also currently, we also recently recorded a podcast with them. So we're also looking to release a podcast conversation with our new podcast, Yours, Mine, and Ours, with Joel Edwards of the Moonlighters Club. So I think we're looking forward to releasing that episode soon. But the way the process works really quickly is the credit memo will be a deck that will give you just some general information about the business. It'll give you a general overview of Dorchester Food Co-op. So it introduces you to their board, their management team, gives you a history of their business. It tells you about their capital journey, which is really important because Ujima is occupying a specific place in the market. So we are looking to fill those gaps that are not seen to by traditional financing. We look at some of Dorchester Food Co-op's plans over the next few years. So we look at what they think is going to be happening on the revenue side over the next few years, what's going to be happening on the expense side over the next few years. It will also let you know about what the investment ask is. And so this is intended just to be a first pass in terms of information. And so the idea is our Ujima voting members actually act as a giant investment committee. So we do have an investment committee that has already met with Dorchester Food Co-op. So if you are familiar with traditional investment processes, you know that there will be some type of committee that's usually a smaller body of people that will be the ones to determine whether or not an investment should be made, what type of an investment, et cetera. What our investment committee does is they do not themselves make the recommendation. What they do is they take our recommendation, the Ujima Fund Management Team's recommendation, and they raise really important questions or really important flags. And they make sure that we're looking at everything that we need to look at. And part of that entails a conversation with the business where they can raise some of those questions and some of those flags themselves. The business is then responsible for answering those questions. So some they can answer on the spot, some they cannot. And so then their directive is to then go away, figure out the answers to the questions and come back at a second presentation for the investment committee. So the process is very similar with Ujima voting members, which is why, again, I say for us, it creates an opportunity for Ujima voting members to act as a giant investment committee. So the charge to voting members when they look at that credit memo is to do similarly, is to raise questions, raise any flags. There's also an additional opportunity to give us additional information, positive, negative, neutral. So it's an opportunity to kind of say this, I think they're great. And, there's some great information that you may not have about them that we think you should have. Another opportunity to say, well, I think actually there's something concerning about them that I don't see it in this report. I don't see it in this memo. And so we think this is some information you should have. And then, as I said, neutral, maybe it's just neither positive nor negative, but again, you look and you say, well, I just don't see it here. So, and this is something I do know about the business. And so I think Ujima should be aware of it. That'll be the first pass. Again, as I said, what we do is we then transfer that information to the business and they have an opportunity to answer members' questions. And once we feel that that has been sufficiently answered, we've gotten all the answers to the questions that have been raised, we've addressed any flags that have come up, then the next step is we put out an investment opportunity report. Or what we're calling an investment opportunity report, but really, again, we could just consider it another memo or deck. And that is what Ujima voting members will use to vote on the actual investment. So we're excited. We're in the first step of possibly making a second investment from the fund. And so we do ask that, and I see the celebration from Siona. So we do ask that when that memo is released, that you check it out. Ideally, sooner rather than later, give you time to digest the information and give you time to respond with questions and with feedback and to get ready for the vote. I saw your screen light up, Siona. Was there something you wanted to ask? And here's a good time I can pause for any questions or feedback.
No, that was a mistake, but
okay.
Very excited.
All right, excellent. So yeah, so any questions, feedback from anyone, any reflections? All right, great. So again, please be on the lookout for that. Got a thumbs up from Kelsey. So we really want everyone to be engaged and really want everyone to take the opportunity to inform themselves and to make as informed a decision as possible. I have one more update and then I will give some space to Steve to give a pilot action group update. So our last update is we don't know where things are quite heading with this pandemic. However, Ujima has started to think about what it looks like to return to an office space. So just some quick history. Our lease was up at our previous office space in October of last year. We went remote pretty quickly. So we went remote almost immediately in the early stages of the pandemic. We officially went remote March 11th. So we haven't been in the office since then. And what we have said is, this was before Omicron. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but before Omicron, what we had decided was most likely our return to an office space would be mid-2022, with the top of 2022 being ambitious. So it's definitely looking like now with the arrival of Omicron, as well as with where we are just in our deliberation process on office space, it will be mid-2022. So there are a couple of things there that we wanted to let y'all know about and put to you in the hopes of maybe receiving some assistance. One, we are wondering about what an interim space looks like. This is primarily because we do have a couple of team members who are tired of working at home. So we do, I should say, have one Ujima member who has a piece of property in his family that's currently not being used. We're in conversation with him about what it looks like, both for a permanent office space for Ujima, as well as an interim space. But we wanted to put that to you all to see if we could get any suggestions, any feedback on these spaces that we might consider. What we're thinking with the interim is it's most likely a place where really no more than 2 team members are gathering at a time. And again, the idea is to give team members who just need a different environment, who are tired of working at home, a different place to be and to work in. And we say no more than 2 team members at a time because we do want to have strong COVID protocols. And we also recognize part of the draw of being in a space outside of one's home, being in an office space, is camaraderie with teammates. So we do want to make room for that kind of company and camaraderie, and we want to be as safe as possible at the same time. So we're putting it out there. Any ideas in terms of space that would be great as an interim space for Ujima, we would welcome suggestions and feedback, and also any ideas about a more permanent space. We do kind of have a general vague sense of what we think we want in a permanent space, but we welcome again any suggestions and any feedback for that. And I'll pause for any questions or reflections about that.
Yeah, can I just interject there really quickly?
Yep.
Okay, again, my name's Sadiq. My day job, I work for Harvard University in the Office of Common Spaces. We manage several spaces across campus, and pre-pandemic, we actually, our building, the Richard A. and Susan F. Smith Campus Center, was like a quasi-public space. So lots of our spaces within that building and like the Harvard Science Center Plaza were open to the public. We're hoping to transition back into something like that. And while I can't make any guarantees, I'm happy to open a dialogue with my team about at least, I don't know, on a weekly or monthly basis or something, about some space we might be able to open to you guys. And I just wanted to put those resources out there and, try and leverage me as much as you can, because I'm fairly new to this community, but the research I've been doing on you guys is incredible. And being someone who was born and raised in Boston, and I'm just now finding out about you, I just want to support however I can. So.
Oh, thank you so much, Sadiq. I truly, truly appreciate it. And so I think what we'll do is, as a next step, we'll put you in touch with Marcel Daniel, who's our Director of Finance and Administration, who is helping to oversee that process for us. And so I'll work to put you in touch with him over the next couple of weeks. And I think since we're shutting down on December 17th, we won't sweat trying to get anything on the books this month, but maybe we'll look to try to schedule some type of conversation in January.
That sounds great.
Okay, thank you so much, Sadiq. Truly appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
And Mia, I don't know, because I'd have to check with folks at MPQ, like Cindy and Joel and what have you, but that we might be a possibility too in downtown.
Oh, that would be great, Steve. Thank you. Similarly, I'll put you in touch with Marcel.
Okay. Yeah, we only have the space until the end of May, but we have lots of extra space right now.
All right. Yeah, and that's great. And that's almost with the timeline. So that's great. Thank you so much, Steve.
Could I throw? Oops. I hope I'm not interrupting anybody.
Oh no, go ahead, Sadiq.
I just wanted to throw one other thing out there. I don't know if you're familiar with the organization Teen Empowerment in Roxbury.
Yes. Yep.
I know they may have some additional space there too, and I'm very good friends with the director there, so I could see it being a mutually beneficial relationship if you guys want to be put in touch with them too.
Sure, that'll be great, Sadiq. And for some reason I'm forgetting his name offhand. We are acquainted with each other. Not you. Teen Empowerment's director starts with an A.
Oh, I might be thinking of somebody else. Nate is the youth director, so he works
Okay.
closely with a lot of the youth.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, so let's double up the effort when I introduce you to Marcel, so we can talk about both Harvard and teen empowerment. And I see Kelsey put in the chat. Fran is ED of Dunamis, and team just got a shared space and I have room for others.
Yeah,
Okay, excellent, Kelsey.
it's an artist space, and I know that like they're a part of an incubator space. So I'm not entirely sure like if there are extra rooms, but the last time I spoke with him, he had brought up that like I guess it's mainly Dunamis using the
Okay.
space rather than any of the other startups. And so they might at least have like one room or something like that for y'all to use as needed. But I'll talk to him. He might have leads at the very least.
Cool. Thank you so much, Kelsey. Much appreciated. And similarly, I'll put you in touch with Marcel as well. Thank you
Awesome.
all. So this is great. Thank you so much. And that is my last update. And so now I'll turn it over to Steve. So Steve, you have about 14 minutes
I don't
to
need
give
14
your
minutes.
update on the pilot group. All right, great.
Yeah, I just thought I should let people know there's going to be a city council briefing that we're doing. Yeah, you were at the last one. So it's happening December 16th. So that's 2 weeks from Thursday at 3 p.m. Kenzie Bach has been leading that committee, so she'll be coordinating that. Basically, I don't think it's going to be like a big mobilization type of thing. It's just, I don't know who we want for the panel, but just know that that's happening. What we're hoping to do is talk about what has worked and not worked with pilot, the work that's been done so far, the agreement at Yale and its implications for, I don't know if you know this, but Yale in New Haven has committed to 135 million over 6 years to New Haven. That's somewhat more, like many times magnitude more than what, say, Harvard is doing in the Boston area. And then talking about the formation of a task force, which got sort of delayed by the election cycle. So there was Mayor Janey proposed a task force, and then she's no longer mayor. So we're working on that. So just know that that is happening. We may do some small action on the 16th at one of the campuses, but that's pretty much what's happening for the rest of the year.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. And then just really quickly, because yeah, wow, I think you did that in a minute. Can you do a quick, just for some of the newer names, just in case they don't know, just quick general overview of what pilot is?
Sure. I realized that was totally uncontextualized. So pilot stands for payment in lieu of taxes. It's a horrible phrase, but basically, according to agreement that was reached by universities, hospitals, arts institutions in the city of Boston back in 2010, it's all voluntary, but nonprofit institutions with over $15 million in property, so we're not talking about small nonprofits here, are supposed to pay 1/8 of what they would pay if they were paying commercial property tax, and also make a like amount of community contributions. And what the pilot action group is trying to do, one thing we've achieved actually in the last year is getting, none of the property had been revaluated since 2010, so obviously the values were lower. So that those numbers should be coming out soon. And then we're also trying to put some actual meat on the bones of what is community participation. Right now, it's sort of self-defined by the hospitals and universities. Community has very little role. There's a coalition of about 15 groups. Ujima, one of the founding members of that coalition, that's been pushing for greater community accountability, actual follow through on the payments, And, you know, we're talking about $100 million a year or something in that neighborhood, at least, for the city of Boston. And I think the priority areas that have been talked about are housing, education, transportation, especially. And then I think I'm leaving out one, but that gives you a sense of what we're aiming for. And there has been some progress. Pretty much almost every city council person is on record as supporting doing more. And it's a question of actually having follow through at this point.
Cool. Thank you so much, Steve. And any questions or feedback on what Steve has just shared? Okay. Well, this wraps up our co-direct for the evening. So next we have Arts and Cultural Organizing Member Team Meeting. And I believe there is going to be a ballot walkthrough of the Cultural Assembly grant voting process, as well as some live phone banking. So I don't know if Paige, are there any announcements you want to make about that before we sign off?
No, I believe James will be on to facilitate the live ballot walkthrough if anybody had questions about the Ashe Cultural Assembly grant ballot. And there will also be time when James comes on to do some phone banking on your own. I'll be in the Arts and Cultural member team meeting.
Okay, so all right, we will sign off. Thank you, Paige. I will stop the recording.